Hello, friends. So, with 2023 coming to an end and moving into 2024, I thought it'd be really cool if we just spent some time talking about a little recap. What did I do during 2023? What are we going to be doing moving forward in 2024? So, I think what we'll start out with is let's talk about casual first playthroughs. I didn't get through a ton this year. I spent a lot of time with speedruns and whatnot. But the first game I think we'll talk about is Omori. Omori was a game that has been recommended to me before. Um, I've only heard good things about it, so I gave it a good shot, and it really blew my expectations away, actually. Just everything from the soundtrack to the battle system was tons of fun to work through, and the story and the environments and just everything about it just bundled up into this game that was way better than I expected it to be, honestly. Um, yeah, that game definitely sits somewhere special to me, and yeah, the soundtrack is so good. Speaking of music stuff, I played Theatrhythm Final Bar Line. That game was addicting. I played so much of that game on release, it was stupid. What a fantastic game. It was so much fun. I was kind of bummed that some of the cooler stuff, song wise, like they put Chrono Cross songs in the game, you have to pay for. I was like, not my favorite. But the base game, it's fantastic. Absolutely. While we're on the topic of Final Fantasies, though, the big one, Final Fantasy 16 came out. And I wasn't sure what to expect going into it. I really wasn't sure, um, you know, of a modern day Final Fantasy like that. And it was perfect. It was everything I could have asked for and more. Every game's going to have its flaws. Final Fantasy 16, I'd say side quests were probably a little too tedious. They paid off really well in the end, but the tedium to get there just kind of made the game feel sluggish at times. It's like, oh, wow, I got another main story, but there's these 12 side quests where I have to fetch berries off a tree. So, but again, like the battle system was something that I was like, I've never played a Devil May Cry game. That's who did the battle system. We'll see. Nope. It was fantastic. It was so good. I loved playing around with the iconic abilities and switching. It was so cool. Always trying to find neat ways to stagger bosses. Can't recommend that game enough. And the soundtrack, it's so good. It's so good. But yeah. The final game we kind of started going through on stream is Octopath Traveler 2. I'm currently in my playthrough of that. It's everything you could love about Octopath 1. Any complaint you had about Octopath 1, I guarantee it's probably fixed in 2. 2 is just so good, from the animations to the soundtrack to even small interactions between characters. They have those what are they called? They're like joint missions where like two of your party members have a special side quest made just for them to interact, which was a big like complaint people had about Octopath 1, was that characters don't really interact. They're just 8 people doing their own thing. And these little joint missions are kind of a cool way to tie them together while still keeping the original formula of the game. So we'll see as I plug through to the end of it, but it's really good. But let's talk speedruns, as that's mainly the thing I do in this wonderful online space. Where to begin? Let's talk about Sly 4 first, or Sly Cooper Thieves in Time. So I picked this game up as something to learn for a race. The Sly Cooper community puts on a race and an event for Sly 4 every February for the anniversary of the game. Not only to celebrate the game itself, but to also kind of pull people into a Sly Cooper run that is less loved, for lack of a better word. So I got to work on Sly 4. my goal was to get a sub 5 hour run, which is where I'm at right now. I finished the year with a 4 hour, 59 minute, and 12 second run of Sly Thieves in Time. I'm not satisfied. I want to go further, and I know I can. So I'll be doing Sly 4 for a little bit, pushing into the next year, but we'll get to that in a little bit. Let's go. So the next game I want to talk about is Chrono Cross. Chrono Cross is a run I've been eyeing up for a while, and I finally pushed myself to learn it. The main push was, so I'm doing the run on the Radical Dreamers edition. The main push for that was, so when the game was released, it was a hot mess. Like, it was very laggy. There were weird glitches. It was just not a great experience. And I'd started to learn it, but it just always felt so clunky. And Square released a patch midway through the year, and or it was early. I can't remember, but either way, the patch just like the game feels so much better. It runs at a consistent frame rate. It's just the whole package feels like a real playable game now. And that kind of pulled me back in. And currently my PB is a 7 hour, 10 minute, and 46 second run. I know I can do better than that. I absolutely want to pull that under 7 hours. So I'm also going to be pulling Chrono Cross over to the new year as well. So the next two games we'll talk about Pixel Remasters in general. So most of you probably know I am a avid runner of Final Fantasy IV Pixel Remaster. Currently have a second place time of 2 hours, 41 minutes, and 18 seconds. But I've also picked up Final Fantasy V this year. My PB on that is a 3 hour, 48 minute, and 27 second time. So Final Fantasy Pixel Remasters got an interesting kind of shakeup in their speedrun in that the console releases came out. So the PS5 and PS4, PS5, and Switch. The PS5 is actually faster than any other version of the game, including PC. So that kind of shook things up in the Pixel Remaster speedrunning community. It has driven times down a lot, and it's been really neat to see all the little differences, and it gives me another excuse to use my PS5. But yeah, I'm gonna get to events here in a second, so I'll talk about where 4 and 5 fall into there, but not games I'm thinking of pulling into the future. I'm pretty happy with where I'm at on both of them. Second place in FF4 is nothing to laugh at. But what I wanted to transition that into is marathons, events and marathons that I participated in currently. So the first one I'm talking about is SGDQ 2023. I got to run Final Fantasy IV. It was like a dream come true. Like, it's the only way I can describe it. I mean, the first speedrun I ever watched was a Final Fantasy IX run by Spike Vegeta and Poexel way back when. I mean, 10 years ago. Dear God. And you know, every year it was like my thing. Like, I have to watch the Final Fantasy run. I have to watch the RPG runs. It's a series that means so much to me. And to get to go up on stage and be the Final Fantasy guy for the marathon was like, it was just a very cool experience for a series that just means the world to me. And on top of that, I'm going to get to run Final Fantasy V for AGDQ 2024 for the finale of the marathon. Like, I don't even think the impact of that has sunken in yet. I don't know. I just never could have predicted that would happen. But that's what's happening. So make sure you come out and check that out. Along with that, I'm also running fan favorite Bugs Life. Yes, I will be running 2 runs at AGDQ, and A Bug's Life has finally crawled its way onto the main stage. that also is going to feel weird because I've been pushing that game to get into this for years now. And so it's like, I didn't think I'd get this far. What do I do next? Also, recently I participated in Really Really Longathon. It's a marathon about games that are really long if you've never heard of it. They usually like to say like minimum 2 hours. There's no maximum. They had an 81-hour run of Smash Bros. Brawl this year. It was hilarious and I loved it. I ran Final Fantasy V and I ran Sly 4, which was really cool. It was really fun. I had a good time. It was in the middle of the night, so my sleep suffered, but it was still a really good time. It's a cool marathon and usually runs for a whole month in like December. I would definitely recommend checking it out if you haven't. I will definitely be submitting for a Really Really Longathon next year. So what are we doing next year? What is on my radar? What would what are you going to come back here to see? Well, like I said, we'll go in the same order. Casual games. When I'm done with Octopath Traveler 2, the next things on my radar are Sea of Stars and the Super Mario RPG remake and Dragon Quest XI. I've never played a Dragon Quest game before, so I kind of want to. That's heard a good one to start with. I'm going to try and do better about. I'm not sure about the editing side of it yet, but even if it's unedited, recording my first playthroughs that I do on stream and put them up on YouTube. So if you're not a Twitch person or maybe you miss one of the streams, you have a nice VOD to watch. I think it'll just be good in general to keep playlists of my first playthroughs of games. In terms of speedrunning, so as I said, there's a few things I want to carry over. And we're going to break this up a little bit. So let's talk about Sly Cooper. So I've always been a huge Sly Cooper fan. I've learned Sly Cooper 1 years and years ago. I learned Sly 2 in 2022. I learned Sly 4 in 2023. So my goal for Sly Cooper this year is I'm going to keep pushing Sly 4 until that February race I talked about comes to a close. And then I'm going to learn Sly 3. And we're going to be doing Sly 3 runs this year. All kind of building its way up to doing a trifecta or quadfecta of the Sly Cooper series. All the games in one go. It'll be something. It'll be something. In terms of Final Fantasy stuff, because I didn't even really get to talk about it, but the Final Fantasy Relay is another event that I love so much. I've run FF4 and FF5 for the Relay. So I always like to learn more Final Fantasies to be a part of that absolutely amazing event. Another event, if you haven't heard of it, go check it out. It's held on the RPG Limit Break channel, which is another event I want to try and handle this year. I want to try and go to RPG Limit Break this year. And I have some really cool games to submit for it. So, Final Fantasies. I want to play around with Final Fantasy III, the Pixel Remaster version. And one that I've been saying I'm going to learn for a long time is I'm going to learn Final Fantasy VIII. I love Final Fantasy VIII. I've been very interested in it for a while. So that's what we're going to do speedrun-wise. Kind of adjacent in RPG land, I'm going to keep playing Chrono Cross. I want to keep improving that time. That game is fantastic, and I love it so much. We're going to see how far we can push that. Now, another game that I've done one run of, I did it on the first day of the year, Okage Shadow King. This is an RPG that came out on the PS2 that is another one of my favorite games ever. And I've learned of the game. I want to keep improving at it so I can submit it to like RPG Limit Break and Really Really Longathon this year because I really want to share that game with people. Not a lot of people have heard of it, and it is a really, really cool game. I love it a lot. What do we have left? So another little game that I've been checking out is that should have went in my First part, it's okay, forgive me. Gunbrella was a game that came out this year, a Devolver Digital game created by Doinksoft, and I've been learning the run, and the movement looks really, really cool, so I definitely want to give that a shot. It looks really, really fun. I'm really excited to take a look at it. There's some stuff here and there, you know. I'm kind of branching out a little bit into different things with my speedruns, but something else I really want to work on this year is doing more just generalized content stuff, if that makes sense. You know, I want to work on some projects and some challenge runs and some neat things to branch out from speedrunning a little bit. Some dreams I've always had, and I'm just like, I wish I had the time for it. Like routing a FF9 all cards speed run. It's I think it'd be neat to route an efficient way to get all cards in FF9. I've wanted to do solo deep dungeons in FF14, and I think that could be a really cool challenge to work through. I mentioned the Sly Quadfecta as something, so there's a lot of neat ideas there. And outside of challenge runs, doing maybe like Final Fantasy tier lists or series videos on Final Fantasies, maybe talking about my weird obsession with PlayStation 1 misprints and variants. I own 5 copies of FF7 now, and I'd love to share with people why on earth I have 5 copies of Final Fantasy 7. But I have ranted long enough. I really, really hope I can see lots of people in this new year in 2024, and we can just keep kind of growing as a little community and learning new speedruns, having fun, and just kind of sharing good times with each other. That's all I have for right now, so I will see you guys in the next video.